Hey, good evening, everybody. John Henry Soto here, along with George Batista. Welcome to Counterparts. Very excited tonight. Hana-Li is going to be on, and we're going to have a great conversation about music and about art and being an artist and everything that's beautiful on this planet. So, very excited. Hang on tight, and we'll be right back. Oh. Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope you're all doing well out there. It is Tuesday. We are live, believe it or not. It is 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and very excited to be here. George, tell us a little bit about our awesome guest.
I absolutely will. Hana-Li is an internationally acclaimed singer, public speaker,
Amazing.
acrobat, and co-owner of Studio 98 Consulting with her husband. Hana began traveling the world at a young age, performing and working on humanitarian projects, along with performing and public speaking. Hana's passion lies in inspiring and helping people to be successful and achieve full potential in all areas of their lives. And we are honored to have her on this program.
Awesome. Thank you very much, George. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Hana-Li.
Yes.
Hi, guys.
Hey, how are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
We've done this before, you and I, when I was back in New Jersey and East Coast, and we just had such a great time, and it was such a great conversation. I really appreciate you coming back. It was so much fun to talk to you.
Absolutely. I had a blast at the first one, and I know we've been keeping in touch ever since. And
yeah, it was so much fun. Back. Awesome. So the way this works, I think we talked a little bit about it. We're very laid back. We're very chilled out. We're talking about some music. We're talking about art. We're talking about acrobatics, which I've seen you incredible, do some amazing things. That's going to be really cool. And we're going to talk about the industry and challenges that people run into and all that. George usually has prepared questions. He's very good that way. I am not. I like kind of free flow, but it's a balance. And George and
short and tall, balance.
Yeah, we have all the smart and well. Anyway, so George, why don't you give us our first question of the evening for Hana-Li?
The password is, well, first of all, may I say that I've watched a lot of your videos and you have an amazing voice, absolutely unbelievable voice. So first, I have to say I was just extremely impressed by that voice. But I wanted to know a little bit about you personally, as far as growing up. Who were your inspirations? Where did that come from?
Inspirations musically, vocally,
both.
Okay. So I had a very, I will say, wonderful and unique upbringing. My mom raised me sort of on her own for the most part. And from the time I was 8 on, and our dynamic was always more as sisters than mother-daughter. And so her whole concept as far as my education went was yes, you need to know certain things school-wise, but let's just take you in the world and let you see the world and let you experience really amazing, cultures and expensive, pretty things visually, go to Paris and Italy and stuff like that. But also let's go to the poorest countries in Africa and, South America and really see the full spectrum.
Wow.
And in and amongst that, it was also I want you to listen. If you want to do music in your life, I want you to listen to a lot of music so that it's not just you have, your teeny bop pop stars that you're are currently on the radio, but really let's listen to, again, like tribal music, and let's go see Cirque du Soleil, and let's get the soundtracks, and let's see that from a visual and a sonic perspective, and let's listen to country, and let's go travel these places and listen to music from those places and stuff like that. So
Wow.
I had a really, I would say, broad musical landscape, if that's the right word.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you kind of see what resonates with you and pick your favorites. So like, I would say vocally, some of my bigger influences would be Aretha Franklin, Celine Dion, early Mariah, you know, just big, powerful voices.
Yeah.
But also coupled with the production and intricacies of like Prince, and I would say probably biggest writing and production influence and inspiration would be Michael.
Right.
MJ.
Right.
MJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael who?
Michael Jordan.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard his secret album?
That's so awesome. And one of the things about your vocal range that, you know, you mentioned all those artists that have that type of vocal range, but you know, that's like something. Answer me this. Because, you know, you hear there's so much stuff online of, you know, you can sound like, you can sing like, and you know, there are certain, this is a muscle, I get it.
Yeah.
There are certain things that you can develop in your vocal range, but isn't there something else that's there that to really hit those notes? Is it really just technique? I know that that's a major part of it, but there, you know, you hear the argument, you know, well, some people are born with talent and then they get the skill to develop that talent. Some people are born with not that much talent, but they develop a skill to really perform. There's a lot of singers out there, right, you know, that are hugely famous that don't have incredible vocal ranges, you know, but they bring something else, some other thing, like what you bring to it. Like when you're singing, I'm just like, there's a couple of videos that I saw on YouTube. By the way, you have to go to your YouTube page, but you have that thing, you know, and that thing is what fascinates George and I, and why we always do this show, because it's this that's why we do spotlight conversations about film, music, health, and life, because it's that thing that we're all after as you know, spiritual beings, right?
That's
a loaded question.
I'm like, man,
did I even ask anything? You see why George writes it down?
He just goes on.
I don't know, but I will say something that I thought of when you were saying that. So I think you have a couple parts. Like, yes, there is the instrument itself, right? And you can strengthen that instrument to do different things. Cool. So that's one side of it. Then there are like just sonic like education, right? And the things that you're drawn to from a communication standpoint, and the things that feel right for you when you sing, right? Like for me, I like to sing higher songs.
Right.
So I can go listen and force the issue and like try to sing all these like super low, you know, alto songs. Or I can be like, that's a great song, I want to sing it. I'm going to sing it an octave up or change the key or whatever. Like, so you can, there's also just like, you don't have to force the issue. Like, find what you like and find what also like, hey, when I sing this, I feel good. Or when I sing this, I feel like I'm really communicating. And when I sing this, I'm inspired, and it makes me want to try other things. And, you know, creatively, you know, it does something for you where you're like, this, like, I want to do more of this. And I think the beauty of listening to so many different styles is I really got to see, what do I like? What don't I like listening to? But then also, what do I like singing? What don't I like singing? what are the commonalities between genres that kind of link it together for me? Because I've performed everything from like heavy rock to opera and everything in between.
Wow.
But there are certain songs that I'm like, I love singing this. Like if someone wants me to put together a set list, it's gonna have a vibe.
Right.
But the songs might be in wildly different genres. So I'm like, well, what is that vibe? Like, what am I drawn to sing and why? And for me, it was like anything that is super soulful, a little edgy, a little sassy, like, you know, which again has that like soul, that swank, that swagger, that whatever. So if it's a ballad, it's going to be a soulful ballad. If it's a rock song, it's going to be a funky rock song that might have a little swampy vibe to it. If it's a pop song, it's going to be one that has a lot of syncopation and cool, like rhythmic, you know, where you're still like hit with something. If it's a whatever, like, so there's going to be this like thread through it, even though they're wildly different.
That's awesome.
So I think you have like the vocal side, the style side, and then like kind of just what you're trying to do with it. And that's going to also be different for different moments. Like if I'm singing at a wedding for the bride and groom to walk down the aisle.
Right. AC/DC.
Yeah. Like, or I'm singing, you know, a dance set at an after party, or I'm singing like my show, Hana-Li presents blah. Like those are going to be very different songs that are chosen.
Right. Right.
Well, and there's an amazing versatility there. Like I, as a musician, right, I love being versatile. I love, and it's funny because when I was younger, and John and I played together for so many years, but when I was younger, I was rock. Then I got into jazz, and I said, wait a minute, jazz can actually help me in rock. Jazz kid, you know, and then I got into all different styles and stuff. So I took all those styles and it's almost like a puzzle. I took all the pieces and put it and made this puzzle, which is called my style.
Right.
And I could see that's what you're aiming for. And then you develop your own style, right?
Yep.
It's an exploration of everything.
Yeah. And then when it comes time to do like original music, now you're pulling your favorites from all of them, putting it together into your puzzle. But you also said something about like that other thing, like you have like talent and then that other thing. Trying to answer.
I say a lot of things, so don't really feel like you have to answer.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a good one for me. That is the difference between skill or technical talent or whatever, which is cool and it's important and it's great. But if you lose sight of the communication, it's pointless. And worse, and this is something that I see a lot of when you just look at the scene right now musically, is you have a lot of talent, but it's being used to further degrade society. And to me, I think that a true artist, again, not bashing anyone's talent, but a true artist would use their communication for the betterment of people. Now, that doesn't mean that every song has to be happy, because there's a lot of healing and understanding and discovery and, you know, becoming a warrior for good in heavier material. But I think it all, again, if it's a true artist, the outcome of the performance or the outcome of the career or the outcome of whatever is going to benefit people rather than further degrade them.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, George and I did a show recently about music, modern music, and what's happening. But what the interesting statistic that we always talk about is that 70% of all the music that's being streamed right now is old music.
Wow.
70% is if you go to Spotify, that's what they're basically putting out, meaning that the current stuff that's being put together, it's not has no weight as far as, because you're right, the talent is there.
Yeah.
I see some of these young performers. Wow, I mean, great talent.
Yeah.
But they're being used, and I say used very purposely. They're being used for a quick sell of what this package is, to degrade and to make people feel, I don't know what the purpose of it, because you can make so much more money when you lift people up. But that's another story, right?
Yeah.
But they're being used, and that really is where the tragedy lies in what's currently happening right now. Because we were talking about in 50 years, right? 50 years ago, the music from 50 years ago, it's still streaming, very popular today on all these platforms.
Yeah.
In 50 years, are we going to be hearing what's currently happening now, or are we still going to be hearing the Beatles? I guarantee you that the Beatles are going to be still streamed in another 50 years, and
totally.
that's one of those that's what we're battling, I guess, right? All of artists that want to make the world a better place, you know what I mean? But it's true.
Like,
it's like,
what is the point of art? I mean, like, if I wanted to degrade people, like, I personally, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, what? Art is supposed to be beautiful. Art is supposed to be freeing. Art is supposed to be inspiring. Like,
yeah.
And it's like those, and John, you and I talked about it. Part of the issue was like, and I think, Hana, you mentioned it in one of your videos, was those competition TV shows and stuff like that. And that actually, and John had mentioned it, that he thinks that started the degradation of this whole thing, really.
Well, let me go back a little on that, because I don't know if it was the degradation, but it took away, it manufactured, it showed how to manufacture a thing that was not legitimately just someone just doing it. It was packaged, it was taken. Hey, this is nice, let's clean them up, let's put on these clothes on them. You got to lose some weight, girl. How many times have you heard that conversation? Completely insulting. You got to shave your, got to cut your hair. And I thought that was the beginning, the whole American Idol scene, which, and you can't blame those contestants. They want to sing, they want to perform. So, but the machine that was created was, to me, just really sad.
Yeah. And, I don't know that started it, but I don't think that it did us any favors as far as beautiful collaborative creation as artists, and putting out a positive message and being unique.
Correct.
And, because when, like you're saying, you're showing how to manufacture the next pop star.
Right. And there's a sound. There's a specific sound that you hear, and it's through all these different, what they're looking for, which I don't get. I mean, I also mentioned this. Imagine in 1960, American Idol coming out in 1960 to the 70s, right? Will we have Bob Dylan?
Yeah.
Would we have Bruce Springsteen? Would we have, even guys that can sing, like James Taylor? I love James Taylor, right? But is he going to go out there and belt out a song? No, he's going to do James Taylor.
Joni Mitchell.
I mean, it just, the list goes on and on of how many artists. So are we losing that today by putting these shows out there and then getting these young people thinking like, well, that's the only real path that I can make it? And that's bullshit. That's not the real path.
Agreed.
Totally.
So
Agreed.
sorry.
I agree.
I think I let George get in only one question in.
But that's what normally happens on the show. I'm so used to it. It's like,
I'm glad you're used to it.
I think I'm getting my own show. But anyway, talk about another thing I've heard you talk about: stage presence. And stage presence when it comes to also the communication piece and that whole thing. Talk about what you see, because I know you work with people, you help people with that. So what do you see in it, and what are the common things that are, or the common things you need to fix with artists as far as stage presence?
I think that again, it's a really good question. So for me, it comes down to the direction of the energy flow, right? And And I see this not only on stage in a performance, but in a career. And it's the same mechanics of how this works. If someone is chasing fame, they are looking for a flow of energy this way. I need the fame, right? I want the attention this way. If they're on stage for this, how can I pull the attention this way? How can I suck it all in this way? Their space is going to be here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the whole purpose and intention and everything that they do, say, how they dress, how they sing, everything is going to be for this.
Right.
Yep.
But again, if the entire point of art is to communicate, like, and inspire and give your communication and your skill and your beauty that you have to give, that's that way.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying that attention is bad or fame is bad. They're great things, again, when they're utilized for the right purpose and all of that. But if you seek to expand your reach, how many people can I give to? How many people can I help? How many people can I inspire? How many people can I talk to? How many people can I sing to? That is all that direction.
Yeah.
Now, there will be this direction in response to that.
Right.
But if you are trying to grab, how can I get ahead? What's the next thing for me? What's in this for me? What, like, look at me. I'm interesting. Come on, like, look at me. Yeah. You feel that immediately. And it's, for me, it's gross. Like, it's very off-putting. And again, I don't think it's a true artist. Again, you might be incredibly talented. There might be a lot of good things about you. You know, I'm not, again, like, I'm not trying to say that, you know, people are bad, but like, if you're in it to give, like, nothing makes you feel better than helping someone else. Nothing makes you feel better than putting a smile on someone else's face, like giving that piece of your heart. And it will inevitably be reciprocated. Like, you're not going to have a career that lacks or a life that lacks because you gave too much or you communicated too much that way. So for me, when I'm on stage, I feel like if it's so much about this, well, then it's like, well, what's going to get them to like me? What's going to pull the attention this way? Oh, and it gets very here. But if it's like, how can I make these people happy?
Right.
Like, there's nothing, you're just there and you're having a conversation and it's beautiful and your space is going outward and the energy is going both directions and it's alive and it's fun. And so, yeah, for me, I'm like, if I can get someone to switch that gear or pull that gear out of them that's already there, or validate that gear if they're already operating that way, like, that's how you're going to have stage presence.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I was, okay, so it's not American Idol, but I think MTV Real World, remember, because you just said something very interesting about what industry or what type of, I don't want to call it art, but what type of programming has people that are just want to be interesting and they just want people to see how interesting they are. Every sentence is like, well, I mean, I feel that like I'm the way I do it, I'm me, you know, and that is that whole reality world, you know. And when you really think about it, American Idol is sort of like a reality show. I mean, they go backstage and they have their dramas and they have their whole thing. I don't like that they demean some of the artists that are out there in the beginning of the shows trying to sing, and maybe they don't have the singing capabilities, but they want to sing and they have that passion, and to, you know, just to do that is really just disgusting. And I've always felt that way. It's never been funny from year one, where everybody was like, look at it, they can't. I never thought it was funny. I always thought it was degrading.
Totally.
But yeah, so that to me seems like it's something to look at as far as where this fame that you want to get when what's his name, sorry George, give me one second.
That's okay.
Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien had an interesting thing because he was talking about how he was talking to these young people, and somebody said, "Man, I'm going to be famous like you," and he was like, "Oh, great." He goes, "What do you do?" He was like, "No, I don't really do anything right now," but and Conan was like thinking, well, he was kind of like, what are your plans? I mean, because it wasn't a kid, it was an older person, older meaning I think they were in their 20s or something. And I'm thinking, but he's right. He's sort of thinking like, what is your, but it's because it's this reality TV kind of concept has made people instant, huge, hugely famous and rich very, very quickly without really having all the talent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, George.
Absolutely. No, that's fine.
I say sorry a lot, I guess.
Yes, he does. But one of the things that you said, and I think it's true as far as going this way, and this is where you get a lot of those stories where the person was going through something, and then they heard or saw their favorite artist, and it completely changed their outlook on it. I mean, it even happens to me, like if I'm going through something, or if I'm in a kind of depressed that day, I'm just down, and I turn on the specific artist, and I feel that I feel completely changes everything, because there's that energy that's flowing this way, like you said, that they're giving me something, right? And then you hear it in those, people who've had cancer, people who've had it, and they say, you know what, your music changed my life. Your music, this, and that to me is the ultimate, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
100%.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, George, I'll give you another chance.
Go ahead, John, go ahead.
Another chance to ask a question. But no, actually, okay. So, but I did want to actually, because that whole flow and that whole energy operates also not just through music and through art, but even through life itself.
Right.
Totally.
We have different urges that we live through in our lives, and that those areas require that energy for to go out. It's sort of like when people are looking for, somebody that I know is looking for a husband. She's like, I want this, and it's hard to advise somebody that is that into, like, I want this into, because you want to say, because it's very sensitive, and I can't be like, well, go out there and become the person that maybe somebody's gonna want, and it smack. But it's a very delicate thing, and it's delicate for artists as well. Somebody who wants fame. I've had that conversation with a lot of people. It's like, man, I'm like so awesome, and I don't understand. I mean, I can do this, I could do that. I don't know why they talk like that, but my point is that they're very, very they really believe they just deserve fame.
Yeah. And I think, again, I think it would really serve a lot of artists well to look at why they want fame. What do they want to do with the fame?
Right.
And is that a positive thing or not? Because feeling like you deserve fame, well, that again is a commodity that you are trying to own or take for yourself. Like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like, we all want to be successful, and we all want to live like good lives and have the things that we need and want to be able to experience life in the manner that we want. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all for it. Like, the bigger the better. Great. Go get it. But again, like, to what end? Like, yes, having a lot of money is great, but having a lot of money to just own more and more and more and more things and do nothing positive with it, and just sit there going, look how amazing I am with all of my stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, okay, then at some point you're gonna die, and what was the point?
Yeah.
But if you want to get a lot of money, experience life in the way that you want, interact with people, help them, inspire them, show them how they too can be successful, use that for good as well as personal pleasure. I'm not saying like, be some like whatever, minimalist with like nothing to your name. Like, by all means, have the car, have the house, have the jet, do it.
Right.
But if there's no point beyond that, then what's the point?
Right.
And I get it. And I think that there's so much indoctrination in our lives from every source that is the be all end all. Like, and that is what validates life, but it's so not. And I've seen miserable millionaires.
Yeah.
And I've seen really, really genuinely happy people who are broke.
Right.
Right.
And everything in between, and every which way. So obviously money is not the happiness.
Right.
Obviously fame is not the happiness. So what brings true fulfillment? Because I don't want to just be like, I'm slapping the smile on my face for Instagram.
Right.
Yay. Like, no, I want to be genuinely happy. And like you said, there are different like parts of life to be happy in, right? Like, I want to be happy and healthy with myself, and I want to be happy and healthy with my husband, and I want, my friends to be doing well, and I want this crazy, awful, wonderful, beautiful planet that we live on. I want the people to be doing better than they currently are, and I want things to go well. And so for me, like, more and more reach, absolutely fame, absolutely tons of money, but why? To what end?
Correct.
To reach more people and help more people. And yes, have fun and have nice things on the way. Like, I love shoes as much as the next girl. Like, I want nice shoes, don't get me wrong. But like, if I have a closet full of, $1,000 shoes, and I'm unhappy with myself and I'm helping no one, who cares?
Exactly.
That's not success.
And I think, because we're not saying, we don't want anybody to be a Gandhi artist. We want to be, you can be an Elvis artist with all the rings and have all those things, but what is the purpose of, why are you doing that? There has to be something bigger.
What are you doing in your day-to-day life and relationships with real live human beings? What are you doing with your career as a whole? What are you doing with your money? What are you doing with just your everyday living, breathing? And I think the real like game changer question that I will pose to every artist, every person on here is, how do you define success? And if you define success by dollars, you're going to live a very different life than if you define success by people that you respect. Not people who you want the stuff they have, but people that you respect. And I started to look at whom I actually looked at and saw as successful by what do I respect, and what about that person do I respect? What specifically about that human being do I respect and consider successful? Cool. I'm going to do more of those things.
Right.
And that is when my success grew in every way. And that also includes the financial and material things.
Right.
Of course, because, if you're starving and worried about paying rent and all of that, like, that's not fun either.
No.
So it's the full picture. But if you're, sitting surrounded by trunks full of jewels and you hate yourself and you don't like what you did to get there, and no one respects you as a person, and your friends feel betrayed and blah, 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 like, that's, you're not successful.
Right. Exactly.
You're not successful. I don't care how many zeros are in your paycheck.
Yeah. I think it's also like I think it could be a deeper thing where they're trying to fill some void of something that they're lacking in their own lives. And they think that thing, because you hear, the conversation a lot. As soon as I get this, as soon as I get my stimulus check, then things are going to really change. Wait till I get my income tax or whatever it is. The next thing is going to fill that void. And I guess fame and fortune is that, those jewels in a barrel are something that they think that's going to fill that void. And they really, man, when you start, this is something that's happened to me recently or last couple of years, but when I realized what my own purpose was, when I really realized what my purpose was, not like what someone else's view of what they think that I should be. And then I took myself out of their life in the way that they saw me, and I put myself on my own path. When I figured that out, the world, everything just opened up like so dramatically, because it was like, oh, well, this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing. It was the whole point of it. And it never became financial. And even though we're doing well, it never became financial. It never became like, kids, and, we have great kids, and, it wasn't anything that we were like thinking, before we had kids, we weren't thinking we gotta have kids, we gotta have, we weren't in that thing. But as soon as I decided that, it became, everything got better, everything. And George and I have been doing this show now for a little over a year, together on this thing, and we've been like learning so much from amazing artists like you, and a lot of them that come through. And the ultimate goal and what they really say is that it's in you, but the purpose is always to help others.
Right. Absolutely.
That's why we're here as artists.
Absolutely. And they were, I've heard sayings like, serve as many people as possible, and that will come back to you. Right. It's that flow. Now, another thing I think that's important in this whole thing, and sometimes it's just that realization, personal development in general is huge in this, right? Because that's gonna help you come to sometimes that realization of, wow, there's more to life than this and more to life than that. How important do you feel just personal development in general as far as for an artist?
I think it's huge. And I think, like studying and living life and experiencing, like not there's a balance, because sometimes people take experience life as like, go do a bunch of dumb stuff, and I'm like,
I did that already.
Been there, done that.
I did that, and it did not work.
But again, like my mom brought me, and like, let's go look at beauty, let's go look at struggle, let's go look at like the highs and the lows, go travel, meet,
that's amazing,
live, experience in that way, not like, how many foolish things can I do before I, hit the age of whatever, but like experience the real meat and potatoes of life, which is people, go look at cultures and people, and read and listen to all kinds of music, and know, I think it's so funny nowadays, like people want to be musicians, but like they don't know anything other than like this much music. And I'm like, go listen to music.
No. It's so, go ahead.
And I think, also like your health and your fitness and your activity, like be, again, sounds so cliche, but like be the best you that you can be. But again, for what purpose? Not so that I can be like, wow, I'm really cool, but so that I can then give my best to people.
Yes.
And with that, like I realized a little while back, like I am a fierce friend. Like if you have me as a friend, you have me as a friend.
Awesome.
But with that, I also hold people to a high standard, because I'm like, if I am going to show up here and give you my best, like I don't want, like I also deserve you to come in here and give me you, your best you. And that doesn't mean, I'll say best in like with a disclaimer, that doesn't mean like I don't want to see you at your worst.
Get out of here.
You know what I mean? Like I'm there for you at your worst, but like be a real friend.
Right.
That's what I mean. Like if I'm going to be a real friend to you, like be a real friend to me. And we're going to go through the emotions of life together. And we're not always going to be our like selves. But if we're both like in this as a real friendship, and for me, that's how I like, that's my approach to people on the planet is like, I'm going to give my best.
Yeah.
And I will do everything I can to uplift. But yeah, I give wholeheartedly and give freely and give all. But I also have learned that there will be people who prove that they don't deserve that as well.
Right.
And I will always leave the door open. Like even with people who have proven that they don't deserve that of me, I will put some distance, but that door is always open if I see real change. Yeah. Like if you now actually prove that you do deserve that of me, great. Yeah. Let's do it. You know? So anyway, kind of got off tangent, but I feel like
that's good. And
people and relationships and just
absolutely. And you mentioned something about friendship, and friendship is so different today than it ever was. Like I think George, my good friend in New York, and a couple of great friends in Bayonne. I have like 4 friends, which is I have thousands of acquaintances and people that I get along great and that I love, and that if I see, I'm gonna get a big hug, and it's great. But it's a really interesting phenomenon. And I don't know if it's because the internet has changed things, and the social media has changed our perception of. Well, I see them I saw their Facebook, so we're good friends, that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. So but it's a different thing and what you're saying is spot on. There are people that are going to break your heart.
Yeah.
They are. It's just going to happen. And as an artist, you have to be strong enough to know that that's going to happen, not only professionally, but it's going to happen, just in your everyday life as well. People that you gave all that what you just said.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the personal development side is like
absolutely
becoming your own best friend.
Right.
And being able to meet other people's best friends, but also not at the expense of being your own best friend.
Right.
And
what a balance.
Always living to inspire and help and whatever, but never undervaluing yourself in the process.
Correct.
Like, because that doesn't set an example for anyone, like really there was a point, I'll never forget it. It was a very, very specific day where I realized if I were dropped out in the middle of the universe, the big wide universe, by myself, I would actually be all right because I've got my back.
Look at that.
Wow.
And it was such a profound moment. And it was like, and with that, I am stronger to help other people. And so I think personal development is definitely big. I think that there are ways of going about that better than others.
Right. Sure.
Say that here.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. It's huge.
Yeah, I would need a guitar if I was going to be dropped off into I'm not there yet, but I hope to get to that point.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I want to be dropped off a million myself. I really like hanging out with people.
So we're at, I can't believe it's like already 40.
Wow. Crazy. That's
oh gosh. I wanted to, it's my fault. I'm sorry.
Usually is.
But I want to quick, I want to talk a little bit about your acrobatic that I've been. What's really interesting is that I follow you on Instagram and Facebook and I think Instagram mainly, but I remember when you were just trying to get the handstand. I mean, but now you are like a beast.
Thank you.
I mean, have you seen it, George?
No, I have not seen that. I'm going to check that out. I got to check that out.
some of the, like, it's really impressive. I mean, where did that come from? What was that?
Okay, I'm going to try to keep this short. So
yeah.
as a kid, like I said, my mom and I would go like see Cirque du Soleil. I watched a bunch of videos, and there were 2 acts in particular from one show that I remember so vividly. One was a hand balancing act, so like doing handstands on those little canes with the wooden blocks and contortion in handstands. So it was a hand balancing contortionist act. And then one was a partner acrobatic duo. And there was something about it where I was like that though. But I was like, you know, a little kid. I was like, I don't know how people start that. And like, I'm singing and whatever. But it never left me as like, that was the coolest thing ever. Like that. And so fast forward a little bit, had a friend that wanted to be a contortionist. And so we were going to dance together. And after dance, we would just randomly train contortion together. Like no coach, had no idea what we were doing.
It's just contortion. Yeah, just do it.
Let's see if we can bend this way. Oh, wow, that works. Like, I guess. Oh, no, not that one. But
yeah, no. Traction.
Is that my leg or yours?
Yeah. Touch my legs so I don't die. I don't know. Like, and we did that for a long time. She actually went off to be a contortionist and then is now a contortion coach. And you know, I started performing and touring, whatever, and blah, 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 blah. But I've always been into fitness, dance, horseback riding, CrossFit, boxing, weightlifting. Cool. I mean, you name it. And so I was training at a calisthenics gym, doing a lot of, you know, body weight stuff, working on hand balancing, working on pull-ups and stuff like that. And one of my coaches also teaches partner acrobatics. And he was like, come check it out sometime, like so casually. I was like, yeah, cool. Sounds great. And I showed up and, you know, we were doing like the super, super basic beginner stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is nice. And I like look over and see some like the higher skills. And I was like, but that though.
Okay.
So like a couple months later, I hit like my first, it's called hand to hand, where you're doing a handstand on the other person's hands. And from that moment, I was like, cool, I'm going to perform this. I'm going to train this. Like, I want to be a high level, like, this is what I'm doing. Great. And so for the last 5 months, I've been like really very actively training this. Like, last week, I think I trained 20 plus hours that week. That's a lot on the forearms, by the way. I showed my PT and I'm like, fix me. I did 10 hours of handstands this week. I don't know why I'm sore.
But I saw one thing that you know, it's one of those things where you're watching, you're like,
yeah.
But you were, I don't know what it's called, but you were in a back bend, I guess you call it, an arch, right?
I know the one. The guy's just doing a handstand on my hips.
What the hell? Dude, I was like,
insanity.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can pull that up and actually show it.
That was so unbelievable.
Is this possible?
John, let's try it.
Okay. Can you see this?
I could see it actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Bring it up a little bit. There you go. Yeah. Look at this. That's her. That's her down there.
That is insane.
I was watching that and I was like, Hana-Li. I was like, but very impressive. I mean, and the level of but it also is really good for your body. I mean, it doesn't it like align your, it does a lot of different. Sure, why not?
Go with that. We'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
But your muscles are more looser. They're more flexible.
So I do a lot of like the acrobatic training itself. Then I do a lot of just hand balancing training, like solo stuff myself. And then I also do on top of that strength training to make those things better, as well as mobility training to make those things prettier and not hurt. So it's a very full training program.
Wow. So it's so impressive. So well done on that. That's so cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was just cool seeing you get the handstand for the first time and be like, yes. And now you're like, yeah, get on. Go ahead.
You got this. Let's do it.
I got it.
Yeah.
Very,
I
very
was
cool.
like, hey, you want to try this?
Sure.
Try not to just fall on me. I don't know. Seems safe.
I mean, you got to be really strong. I mean, that is so awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're kind of wrapping up. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on one of the things that we always kind of end with is like there are people out there right now, they're artists or just people in general. We obviously went through the last 2 years of a very interesting thing on this planet, and we're sort of coming out of it. And a lot of emotions are out there right now, especially with artists trying to get back into this thing, what's a piece of advice, something that you can give to the audience that would get them through, or even something that they can do,
And I just want to quickly add to that, because one of our things is mindset, right? The mindset of, and a lot of the people, a lot of the folks that come on our show, we talk about the mindset of people like yourself, people who are successful, who are able to push through barriers, push through obstacles, right? So so again, what is the advice that you would give if somebody because you had amazing support. Obviously, you had your mom who showed you the world. She showed you the yin and yang of the world, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone has that, right? So maybe someone who doesn't have that support system. So what is your advice for somebody pushing those obstacles to get to where they want to go?
Yeah. Cool. And we have to wrap this up shortly. Okay.
Well, I mean, if you can hang out, you can stay as long as you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I
absolutely.
Okay. So we touched on it before, but I would say first and foremost is figure out why, like what is the reason that you want to do the things that you want to do? Mm-hmm. And look at, like, some people want to like like they want to have the stuff, right, but they don't want to, do the things.
Right.
Like,
that's true.
So for me, it got really interesting because I want to the reach and the art has always been there, right? Mm-hmm. But I personally don't like the way that when you think of like the music industry, obviously there's a lot of different avenues and pieces and parts of the music industry. But when people think the music industry, I would say, generally speaking, people have a certain concept of that.
Right.
That concept is not something that I personally believe in. I think it's very manufactured. I think it's very suppressive to artists and to the population at large. I think the messaging is not a good one. and it's not accidental, let's say that. Right. I think who gets famous in that way is picked because they can be used in certain ways to forward things that are not accidental.
An agenda.
Yeah. So for me, I had to look at, do I want to do the of contributing to that?
Right.
No, I do not.
Right.
Okay. Well, does that mean that I do not want to be an artist? Well, obviously not. Okay, cool. So obviously we're going to have to do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for any artist, really look at what you actually want to do and what you don't want to do, who you want to do it with and for, and who you don't want to do it with and for, who you want controlling you or not, how you want to be in control or not, how you define success or not, and what actually drives you, and what will you be happy with. Hey, if I accomplish this, I'll be happy. Because will you be happy solely because your video hit X number of plays? No, probably not. Will you be happy if you sign this deal but get shelved? No, probably not. Will you be happy if you're rich and famous but all of your peers and everyone you're surrounded with are people that you don't respect? No, probably not. So really, what at the end of the day will you be proud of, happy with? What will get you up and excited to work on every day? What do you want to do? What are you willing to do? What is it for? And really take the painful time to answer those questions for yourself. It will probably come with tears. It will probably not happen all in one fell swoop. You'll probably have to come back to it several times before you really lock that in. But once you know that, chances are you're going to be on a path that is not the normal path.
Right.
But if you know what the objective is and why, you'll start to see not only what does align with that, but also, almost more importantly, what doesn't align with that. And that starts to create direction, and you can really start to plan with that. What kinds of shows do you say yes to and no to? Who do you work with and don't work with? Like, what do you write about or not write about? Maybe you have a friend that wants to produce shows. Maybe there's a corporate realm that wants to hire musicians. Maybe there's other kinds of avenues that can reach the people that you want to reach.
Right.
And you also, with that, have to be okay with not everyone is awake. Not everyone is aware. And a lot of people are very influenced by what they have been fed.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And if you want the success that you have defined, you have to get okay with, like you were saying, John, maybe it's not the picture that other people think you should be doing to achieve their version of your success.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that takes a kind of certainty in yourself and a kind of awareness and a kind of like sticking true to your purpose that not everyone has.
Yeah.
It's tough. But if you can get there, you are not behind the curve. You are so far out in front.
Mm-hmm.
And other people might not see it that way. You know, like if you're not Taylor Swift famous, but you're actually on the path for what you're doing and you're living the life that you want to live, and that is expanding, and you know how all the pieces connect for yourself, you're going to do a lot more good than a Taylor Swift or a fill in the blank.
Yeah. 100%.
And if you can do that on an ever increasing scale, like, great.
Yeah.
Again, there's nothing wrong with fame. There's nothing wrong with money. But if you really take the time to define that for yourself and you live that life, you will be happy and you will achieve your success.
Wow. Love it. Love that. Wow. Yeah. And,
well said.
Thank you.
You said, and I'm going to say something, of course. But you also said about the path, and you're so far ahead. And the fact that you are so far ahead, you can actually make a path for others that goes into a place of sanity and helping the planet. And that's the path that we're all kind of like creating.
Yes.
And I know that there's this muck going on here, but that eventually is going to eat itself alive. They're going to eat itself up, and we're the ones that are going to be creating a path of sanity for artists. So
yeah, exactly. Awesome. Like living a life to inspire and help is never going to put you behind the curve. And again, it's like it takes the strength of the people who are willing to walk uncharted territory before that path ever gets there.
Right. Take those daggers. Wow. Thank you so much, Hana-Li, everyone. Wow.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. This has been amazing.
Oh, man.
Awesome.
Please, I come back anytime. We'd love to have you on. And we could also like pick a specific topic that we can really talk about and go broad on stuff, or go more in instead of so broad. But yes, thank you so much for being on. Hang out one tight. Stay there. Hana-Li, everybody, thank you very much for being on. Wow. She's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there was so much in there. I mean, just so much inspiration, so much amazing, amazing words. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and we could just go on that. But she said it all right there. I mean, it's right there. You know what I mean? And that's what success is. We just had success on the show, basically.
Yeah,
success was on the show.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's like people are out there looking at whatever, this is it. So appreciate her very much. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. We will see you all again next week, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. George Batista is on that side or on that side of me. I'm John Henry Soto for Counterparts. Thank you very much. Take care. And as always,